Welcome, everybody, to episode 51 of Martinis with Scott. Continuing on with the coronavirus discussion and thinking today to help you with your business. Is anybody sick of this thing? I'm over it. I'm in self-isolation, and it just occurred to me today that this is actually getting really serious because my Starbucks drive-thru was closed in my little town that I live in, and for me, that's a serious personal hit, is the only way I could describe that. So I'm over this thing. Let's talk about how we can maintain momentum in our business and why momentum is the most important thing in every business all the time. Now, what do I mean by momentum? By momentum, I mean moving in a positive direction. We'll talk about what positive means in a minute, but moving in a certain direction and to keep moving in that direction, to not start going backwards or just to stop or even to seriously slow down your momentum, but to continue to move from here to there, if in fact from here to there is where you want to go. And momentum is everything. When I'm doing a turnaround of a business, whether that be a seriously financially troubled business or just a business that needs operational improvements, it's not, spitting out enough cash or earning enough money. We've talked before in this show about KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics that we're looking for, because there's always 3 or 4 metrics that drive every single business. So let's say I'm looking at contribution margin or fill rates. Let's pick on contribution margins. So let's say I've decided, because I've built my model, that I want my contribution margin to be 40%. For every $100 of revenue that I have, $40 is my margin with which I can pay my overhead and my fixed costs and my profit. And let's say in reality, my margin is 20%. So I want 40, that's my target, that's the direction I'm trying to head in, and I'm at 20. At the end of the year or the end of a quarter or whatever period I'm choosing, if I went from 20 to 30, but I didn't get to 40, have I succeeded or have I failed? Is the business improving? Or is it a lost cause because it's not at 40? The absolute number is not what I focus on. The absolute number is a bogey that I would like to get to make this business do what I think it should be doing. But I work on it every day. I work on every day the momentum, getting from the 20% contribution margin, getting up to 25, getting up to 30. And at the end of the year, if I went from 20 to 30, I'm happy about that. That's not a failure. I have more work to do, right? I'm not in maintenance mode here. My turnaround's not done. I have more work to do, but I've set the momentum, and you can do that on any metric, right? You can do it on EBITDA, you can do it on fill rates, you can do it on revenue, you can do anything you want. Momentum is the key to everything. Think about the power of momentum as it relates to countries. Let's take ourselves in the Wayback Machine to before the virus, before the coronavirus, and let's think about the U.S. and how the U.S. was performing as an economy, as a country, under Trump's administration. And I try not to get into politics on this show, but everybody talks about politics these days, and so this is a good way to hammer home a point. Now, was everything awesome in the U.S. on an absolute basis, on a reality basis? No. Not everything's office. They're still awesome. There's still unemployment. There's just a horrible opioid issue with death rates that are crazy numbers. I can't do them off the top of my head in case I'm fearful of, I have an idea, but I'm fearful I'll have it wrong. It is such a serious topic. I don't want to talk about it without having the stats right off the top of my head. But there's horrible issues going on in the US, yet on every measurable KPI, on jobs, wages, unemployment, corporate earnings, yada, yada, everything that you could think about. That's the first time I've yada on Martinis with Scott, by the way. Hopefully that doesn't become a habit. On every single measurable performance indicator, things were improving in the U.S. under the Trump administration. Every single one, improving. Are they good enough? No, but the momentum is positive, and as a result, consumer and business confidence over the top, all-time highs. Everybody knows that about the US. Whether you hate Trump or love him, it doesn't matter. Everything that you could measure was getting better, and that's why confidence was so high. Now, if you're Canadian or Canada, let's do the same analysis under the Trudeau government. Is Canada in a depression? No. Is it in a real recession? No, not statistically speaking. Is unemployment unusually high? No. Yet, it feels like that. It feels like we're in a recession. It feels like we have a massive unemployment issue. And the reason it feels that way to us as residents or those who understand Canada is because everything's moving in the wrong direction, or at least it's not moving in the right direction. In other words, it's stalled. It's either stalled or it's going negative. Depends on the region you're in, depends on depends on the industry you're in. But the bottom line is it doesn't feel good. It feels like depression, and it feels that way because of the momentum, the direction that things are heading, not because of where we are, but because of the direction that things are going. It's the same in a business. Okay, it's the same in troubled companies in any business. Let me ask you a question. You're a bank, and you need to do a loan to company A or company B. Company A has $5 million in revenue and breaks even, makes no money. Company B does $5 million in revenue and it breaks even, it makes no money. So exactly the same numbers. Company A last year did $7 million in revenue and made $2 million in profit, and now it's $5 million in revenue and breaks even. Company B, on the other hand, last year had $3 million in revenue, grew to $5 million. Last year it lost $1 million, improved to break even. So company B last year was smaller and losing money. Now it's growing to $5 million and is breaking even. Company A last year was $7 million revenue, shrunk to $5 million, used to make money, now it's breaking even. Which company would you want to lend to? They have the exact same numbers. $5 million break in revenue, break even in profit. Obviously, you're going to choose company B. Why? Momentum. Momentum is everything. So how do you maintain momentum in this time of the coronavirus, when your business is shut down, your employees are probably at home, whatever issues you're facing in the jurisdictions that you're in and the type of business that you're in? What do? Do you lose all of your momentum, which is death to your business, or do you fight to maintain your momentum? So how do you have momentum? Number one is you have to have an aim, right? Because by definition, momentum to what? So you have an aim, and your aim of your business, of your life, probably hasn't changed. Certainly your business, it hasn't changed because of the virus. You have the same aim before the virus hit, and now you have the same aim after the virus hit, right? Whatever that aim is, your goals for the year, your goals for your mission statement, your goals for the business in general, you have an aim. So that's number one. Number two is you work your ass off towards that aim, and you don't ever stop working, ever. So just because your business may be shut down today doesn't mean you should stop working towards your aim. If you want momentum, continue to work to your aim, and you've got a huge advantage right now if your business shut down, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So momentum, have an aim, work your ass off and don't stop. And number three is be positive. Focus on positive things. What does that mean? Does that mean things that make you happy? No. Positive things are things which by definition are the things that you do to take you towards your aim, to have that momentum, right? You work on the things that are going to impact your business or your life in a positive way, okay? That doesn't mean it's going to make you happy. Maybe it's hard work. But if your aim is reconciled with your values, then moving towards that aim is going to make you happy, right? That's the way it works. But you need to focus on the positive things. You can't maintain momentum by doing nothing but negative things all the time, which leads me into, let's talk about, so that's how you build momentum. That's how you gain momentum. You have an aim, work your ass off, focus on the positive things that are going to bring about that momentum in the direction that you're looking for. Let's talk about positivities. In turnaround business, you take over a company, you want to make more money. Now, the thing that I find the hardest is to find a leader or turnaround leader that can deal with the crap in a large part of the day and also be positive and drive the business forward. So, you think about yourself as a CEO, you think about, I think about myself. I see it all the time in the businesses that I work with. the phone's ringing off the hook with angry creditors. People aren't being paid. The bank's issued a demand. You know, you're going to have your personal guarantees called. You're going to lose your house, so your wife or your spouse or your partner is going to leave you. Maybe there's all sorts of regulatory issues. Maybe there's class action suits. There's all these millions of things coming at you, every day, and you could do nothing for 24 hours a day, but deal with that negative shit. And none of that is going to create momentum or maintain your momentum to push you towards your aim, right? And so picture yourself as a leader. The reason I started this story, picture yourself as a leader. Now you need to bring in to accomplish your aim, to generate some more revenue, whatever. Now you're in a new sales pitch. And on your mind is nothing but creditor calls. I'm a failure. My business is going down. My spouse, my partner is going to leave me, right? Are you going to be effective in that sales pitch? Can you be positive? Like it's a rare individual that can manage both of these things. And that's, I'm convinced, one of the reasons that I'm successful in this business, because for whatever reason, maybe in my upbringing, but I can do both. I can do both. I can deal with the realities of the negatives and they don't really bother me, which allows me to execute still on the positive. Now, how can you hack that if you don't? And by the way, I just see this problem all the time. You see this executive that we're talking about walking into new customer meetings or whatever, their body language is slumped. They use negative word choices. I've literally seen, not just once, a lot of times, upfront apologies. I know you've heard bad things about us and we don't ship product and our fill rates suck, but we would love the opportunity to work with you, right? You can't hide from the negative. You have to address it, but you can sure change your language, right? Like, great news. We've had a lot of problems with fill rates in the past, and here's what we did to fix it. And I believe we're in a position to earn your business because you can have confidence in us. Like, you could just change the pitch around and be positive about things. Now, if you're not of the mindset, if you're not lucky like me in terms of psychology and the way your mind works, and you're stuck with negativity and you can't get out of that cycle, how do you hack that? What can you do? Recognize that you just can't survive and you will not run your business focus on the negative all the time because it kills momentum. So what do? Pick time. Pick an hour a day, pick 2 hours a day, but don't pick more. I try to do it in an hour, hour and a half if I'm really stuck on things that are depressing me and bringing me down and causing me to freeze up, right? Pick an hour a day, pick 2 hours a day. Do it when you're most likely to get it done, right? So for me, I like tackling my negative things first thing in the morning. I used to love tackling my negative things at midnight with a bottle of scotch or a martini. As I'm getting older, that's not working for me anymore. So now I tackle them first thing in the morning, right? I need to tackle some regulatory stuff. I hate doing the paperwork. I need to do some spreadsheet. Actually, spreadsheets are fun for me, but I need to do some tax, review some accounting information. I try to do that first thing, but then I give myself an hour and a half, and then I'm done. And then the rest of the day, I focus on positive things. If I got creditor phone calls I have to do because I'm doing a restructuring of a client's troubled business or a troubled business we just bought, I block them off in an hour and I get them done. And then the rest of the day, I focus on positive things that are taking me towards my aim. And I know what my aim is. I've bought into it. And therefore, that is fun for me. I'm productive. I'm mentally sane. I'm effective. Yet I'm not ignoring the shit that needs to be dealt with. Okay. It builds momentum. You can try that trick. And to me, that's the real trick to turnarounds and crisis management. And your business is in a crisis right now because of the coronavirus. Okay, so what else do I have here? So where are we at right now? Momentum is the most important thing in business. If your business is shut down, if you're a restaurant, if you're a yoga studio, if you're in the hospitality business, and you're shut down, you say to yourself, well, how do I keep momentum? Well, you have an aim. Your aim wasn't necessarily to be open tomorrow. You have a broader aim than that, a more far-reaching horizon. You can work towards that. You've got a blessing. All of your competitors are frozen. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. What can you be doing? Keep working your ass off towards your aim. Do the things you can do. Strategic thinking. strategic planning. Rewrite your marketing plan. When you're allowed to go to work in a couple of weeks from now and reopen your business, what is your marketing plan? How are you going to rebuild those customers? How are you going to steal them from your competitor down the road at the other yoga studio? Because they're just sitting on their hands. Promise you that. You outwork them, rebuild your marketing plan, build up your customer database in your CRM, clean up some accounting and some regulatory stuff that you haven't been doing. Rewrite your website, make it more current, get your social media going. Do things like that you can do from home that you should be doing, most importantly, but you don't during your day when your business is open, because your day-to-day is just taken over by the events of work and life. Well, that's not happening right now. Hunker down, do this stuff. It keeps your momentum going, and that is the most important thing. Now let's talk about a related item to momentum, which is certainty. Okay, and if you talk to any economist, I was speaking with someone with an economic background just about an hour ago on the phone, who's in business now, and very successful, owns a bunch of businesses, and mostly concerned about certainty, because if you talk to an economist, certainty is everything. In economics, you would rather have certain bad news than uncertain, like, I don't know, maybe it's going to be good, maybe it's going to be bad, I don't know. That's death. That just kills economies, and it also kills businesses. All right. So here's the way I think about it. We've all been taught in the face of stress, our evolutionary response is flight or fight, right? Fight or flight. That's what we do. Those are our two choices. Wrong. There's a third choice. And the third choice is what happens statistically, I would say. This is anecdotal, but I've never seen a study on it. But just from my experience in business, the third thing is what actually happens, which is nothing. I call it freeze. You didn't do a strategic retreat, right? There wasn't the flight. You didn't hunker back, put your head down, rework what you're going to do, and then come out later fighting. You didn't just go headlong into it and fight. You just froze because there was uncertainty and you didn't know what to do, right? You see a grizzly bear coming at you. I'm going to use that example because I'm sitting in grizzly bear country. A grizzly bear's coming. You think, well, I can't outrun it, right? So I'm not going to fight. Probably can't fight it very well, so I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to sit here paralyzed with fear until it eats me. That's what happens in business all the time, okay? It's the most common thing. You just do nothing. So let's talk about leadership and certainty, how it relates to momentum. If you're a government and you need to shut down businesses for a period of time, if the government tells you to shut down your business indefinitely, we're going to monitor this coronavirus thing, we're going to come back to you. Is that leadership? Or does that cause an entire economy to freeze with uncertainty because they don't know what the hell is going to happen? That's what has happened. It's terrible leadership. And if you're frozen, by the way, do you have momentum? No, you have nothing. You're frozen. You've lost all your momentum. That is death to business. Don't let this happen to you. And governments, you don't shut things down indefinitely. You want to be a leader? You pick a date. We're shutting all businesses down, and we're going to shut them down for the next 3 weeks, and then we're probably okay. Okay? Now, the 3 weeks doesn't have to be right. It's not important. It's a mental psychology game. It eliminates the uncertainty. And 2.5 weeks from now, maybe 3 weeks wasn't enough. You have more certainty. You know what's going on with the virus, and you pick it back up. But you have to start somewhere. Create certainty as much as you can. That's what being a leader is all about. Getting out in front of people and saying it's indefinite simply communicates you don't know what the hell is going on as a leader, and you're not even willing to take a risk to take a chance on having a point of view as to what's going on. You're just shutting everything down indefinitely. Look at what Trump did today. He went out and in some sort of interview, I've just seen a clip of it. I'm not sure where it was or who he was talking to, but the headline is he wants to be back to work April 12th for Easter. Okay, he wants the economy back to work April 12th. That's about, off the top of my head, 3 weeks from now. He picked a date. Does it have to be right? No. Does it have to be a goal to create some certainty? Does it inherently have a view as to where this epidemic or pandemic is going? Yeah, it does. And that's what leadership is. That's what you need to do in your business. when you're talking to your stakeholders, when you're talking to your bank, when you're talking to your employees, when you're talking to anybody that's in your business, have a point of view. The proper answer is not, I don't know. The proper answer is, here's what we think is going to happen, and we're not betting the farm on it. We have plan Bs, we have plan Cs, we have sensitivity, but we took a position. This is where we're going. Okay, you have to do that. I always say in turnarounds, I see it all the time. It's paralysis. There is no, I don't know what the right answer is. You don't know what the right answer is. Nobody knows. Make a decision. If it's not working tomorrow, change it. Make a different decision. But you have to do something. That's what leadership is. My prediction, I've had a bunch of calls and messages today. When's the world going back to work? I'll go on a limb right now. I predict about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I think the April 12th date is dead on that Trump brought out today. But it's not going to go from 0 to 100. I think it's going to go in increments. I think they're going to say to businesses, hey, bring back your younger workers, everybody under 40, under 35, bring them back first. The older people, stay home another week or two. It'll increment its way there. I don't know what the plan's going to be, but that makes a lot of sense to me. So if I were you, I'd be thinking that way. By the way, while we're talking about shutdowns, we read in Ontario, which is in Canada, a province of Canada, they shut down all businesses, as did Quebec and many other provinces, happening in the US as well. And the critical list came out, so essential services can stay open. So you think, well, all businesses are shutting down. Where am I going to buy my groceries, right? Well, the grocery stores can stay open. Well, if the grocery store can stay open, who's going to supply the grocery store? Well, the egg farmer can stay open, obviously. The packaging people who package foods can stay open. You got to have boxes to put foods in. Excuse me. It's not the virus, I promise you. It's my lack of a drink here, water or coffee or anything. So the businesses stay open. If you read through the list, it's damn near every business that stays open outside of hospitality. Now that's different by jurisdiction. We read Ontario because we've got a couple of businesses that we're highly interested in the Ontario region. Some we own, one we're doing due diligence on. Turns out we could justify staying open for every one of these things. And then the second point to make on this critical services, essential services list is that I don't think anybody's monitoring this. Like, there's nowhere. I asked my staff, do you register somewhere? Do you go to government and say, okay, this is what we do. It's our view that we're essential, and so we're going to stay open until someone tells us not to. Nope. It's just I don't know if it's a law, a guideline, or order, what the hell it is. So here's my advice to you. Look at, in your jurisdiction, look at what the rules are from the government, look at how they're monitored, and then make a decision. Start with the position, do you want to stay open or do you want to close? And I'm going to talk about that more in a second, because it's not so obvious that you want to stay open during this time. But if you do, can you make a case that you're on this essential services list, right? You're part of the supply chain, for example. You're part of emergency services. If you're a roofer, I'll do another show for roofers today. So you decide whether you want to be open, and if you do you plausibly qualify on this list? And number 3, is there a registration, or is there a judiciary regulatory type of mechanism? And the answer might be no, because who the hell's going to do that? There's no staff, everybody's home. So write your reason out. Have a checklist if you need, but write your reason out. I think we fit into it for these reasons. Here's the exact wording from what the government put out. Here's what we're doing. Give it to your employees so everybody has it. Post it on the door. We're staying open for this reason, and just take the position that you fit the criteria. And then the onus is on somebody else to come and tell you no, right? The onus is on the government or the police or someone to say, hey, what are you doing? Well, that's what we're doing, right? Because at the end of the day, this is all just going to be somebody's judgment. Right? So it might as well be your judgment. You might as well start with that if in fact you want to stay open and you're not doing any harm. And as I talked to somebody else today, and I'll get to this in a separate section here, but worker safety needs to be paramount. In fact, what I said to this person was, if you want to be open, that's the black and white of your math, and you plausibly are within the essential services list, what you ought to be doing is going to every single employee and giving them an out. This is what we think. We recognize it's a judgment, Maybe your judgment is different. And if your judgment is different, I'm happy to lay you off right now. Go get your unemployment insurance, what other benefits the government are giving you, and don't put yourself at risk. I got no issues with that. It's not going to be a negative on your employment record, because the last thing you want to do is have an employee base of, say, 50 people, and 3 of them disagree with your judgment and they feel strongly you're not essential, right? And that you should be shut down. And that's guaranteed to happen, right? If this is entirely a judgmental issue, some percentage of your workforce is going to have a different judgment. Well, what they need to do, what they're going to do potentially is cause a fuss to start reporting you to government agencies or the police or what have you, and say you're breaking these rules because they don't really understand. The job on you as a leader is to make them understand. And the understand is it's 100% judgmental. I don't know whose judgment it is, so therefore it's mine. And if you have a different one, I completely respect that. Go away, right? Just go away. I'm happy to lay you off. We'll give you your record of employment. Go get your money from the government. And when this is over, you can come back. So take the position that is judgmental, and you're going to be a lot safer than if you don't take that position. All right. I had a couple of calls today from people on, cash flow planning and for their own purpose, for pitching the bank. And this brought me into my first conversation on the phone that I had about this today, which ties into what I was just talking about, is do you really want to stay open? There's a cash flow profitability scenario that needs to be done in every business in this environment. So what does that mean? That means if you're a profitable business and your revenue is 100% of what it used to be and your margins are 100% of what they used to be, you're going to spit out the same profit. Now, what happens if your revenue is 2/3 of what it used to be? Your margins are unchanged and your overheads are unchanged. Maybe you're going to lose money. So even though you still have customers open, right? You still have customers open, you still have orders coming in the door, but your volume is way down. It's 2/3, it's a half, and every day you're open, you're losing money, right? So there's the profitability side of it is now negative. Maybe the cash flow would be better if you just shut down. Why? Because what do you have to pay? You have to pay your rent, but you don't have to pay anything else, right? You can lay all your people off, tell your suppliers you're not paying them, gone fishing. We'll be back out, we'll be back out when the economy reopens, and we'll deal with all this stuff then. Would your cash flow be better or worse if you made that choice? Every business is different. Every jurisdiction will drive a different answer, but you need to go through that analysis, and you need to balance that against worker safety, right? If I'm losing money, if my cash flow is going to be better by shutting down, and I can, better protect my workplace, and my employees, there's going to be some trade-offs in that equation somewhere that you need to think about. So to me, it's not entirely obvious that you want to stay open. Maybe you do, but it's not entirely. And by the way, on the topic of momentum and shutting down your business, that's not losing momentum. A strategic retreat, right, to save cash, to build up a war chest, which is what I've been pitching, doesn't mean you stop working. It means you double down and do the things that you don't have to, that you can do that don't involve your day-to-day when your business is open. Rebuild your website, rebuild your CRM, your database of customers, do your strategic thinking. How are you going to beat your competitors when you open back up again? Second cash flow conversation I had was someone who asked about, how do they, in this crisis and unusual circumstance, how do they come up with the assumptions for the cash flow when they sit down with their bank to ask for some concessions? And the example was given is, our terms are 30 days. Customers usually pay on average in 50 days. But what if 50 days is now longer because people are paying slower in this environment? I'm going to blow through my cap of my receivables lending with my bank if this goes much above 50 days, right? So Scott, what is the answer? What do I think? Should 50 now be 60, or how's that going to work? And the answer is, I have no idea. You have no idea. The owner of that business has no idea. Why? Because the customer who's paying their bills have no idea. It's in their mind right now that they're going to pay on the 50-day average, right? But a lot of things can happen in a crisis in 50 days. They don't know. The point of a cash flow is not to be right in any financial model. is not to be right about the assumption. It's to do two things. It's to help your thinking to realize what you're sensitive to. And in the cash flow, you're sensitive to your collections, right? Money in, money out. That's what a cash flow is. Well, what's money in? The bulk of it is collections. If they're going to be delayed, that's a highly sensitive assumption. And you need to know that it's a sensitive assumption, and that's not immediately obvious to people when they build their cash flow. And then the second point of that cash flow is as a sales tool, as a communication tool when you sit down with the banker. The right discussion with the banker is not, it used to be 50, I think in this crisis is going to be 60. The right discussion is, it used to be 50. If it goes to 60, I'm fine on my cash flow. If it goes to 80, I blow through this covenant and you're not going to lend me the money and I got trouble. So let's talk about how we monitor this assumption. And I want from you some comfort and some thinking right now about the cap I have on these accounts receivable and extending aging in my margin, so that you can have a specific discussion about how this stakeholder, your bank, might help you, right? It's not about being right or wrong. It's about the thought process, the sensitivity, and the communication that it drives. That's what financial models are for. I think that's all I have for today. I'm Scott Sinclair. This has been a Martinis with Scott. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Surf around, see some other content. If you like it, do us a big favor and subscribe. I just had a closed battery, weak battery signal, so hopefully that all recorded.